My name is Diego Kalszewski, and this is my educational autobiography. I often get the feeling that going through my education is like running laps around a track. I've gone through elementary school, lap 1, middle school, lap 2, high school, lap 3, and college on to 4. Each new lap is a new experience, new faces to see, and more to learn. So when I think of school, I think of learning, the experience, and curiosity. So lap 1 for me was Glen Loomis Elementary School. I was here from kindergarten through 5th grade, and I loved it. When I walked into the building, I always had a sense of adventure and comfort. I can't recall ever having a bad teacher. They were all sweet and fun, and educators that were perfect for teaching little kids. This is where I had my first music classes, my first caterpillar experience, and playing on the playground. It was a great start, if not the best start to my education. And then came lap 2, which was Traverse City West Middle School. I was here from 6th through 8th grade, and I do believe we were the first 6th graders ever to become part of the middle school experience. When I walked into the middle school building, I honestly had a sense of anxiety. I felt like I didn't really know who I was at the time, and I was learning about the world and about myself. It was the first time being with a big group of people, big group of kids, and it was the first time for me playing the saxophone, which is my major now, and a lot of firsts. I was getting used to things. What I can say about my educational experiences at the middle school was that they were legitimate. I don't remember having great experiences, but I remember having teachers for the first time that would talk about more of real life kind of situations. And this brings me to my worst learning experience, actually. I had a US history teacher. Not a bad teacher at all, very smart, very intelligent, even kind. But actually, this teacher would always talk about depressing, traumatizing things, it would seem like. Every time I would leave the classroom, I would feel very depressed about, wow, the world sucks sometimes. I learned a lot about what goes on in the world, but I also learned that when I want to be a teacher, I don't want to traumatize my students. Overall, I think I learned a lot in middle school about myself, and obviously I learned a lot about the world. It's just that I wasn't in Kansas anymore. After the 8th grade, I went on to lap 3, which was Traverse City West Senior High. I was here from 9th grade through 12th grade. There'd be days where I'd be exhausted, but in the long run, I would always get there, and I would always feel great. When I look back on it, I really liked my high school. I remember walking into the building and always having a sense of comfort and pride. My educational experiences were fantastic at the high school. I found myself surprisingly learning many different things from educators, and I matured more as an individual. I felt like no matter what I was doing or where I was at the high school, I would always be learning something. And honestly, I felt very successful at that. I was doing well in academics, and I was doing well with my music. And this brings me to my favorite teacher, Mrs. Chargo. She was a calculus teacher at my high school, and not only did I love math, I was always excited to do it. And she was fantastic at what she did. She always knew what she was doing. She always had a plan. She was nice. She was strict when she had to be. And I always felt very efficient with my work. It was when I was feeling that I was thriving in the class that I knew she was my favorite teacher. It was because she was such a good teacher. It was my best learning experiences. Calculus was difficult, but it was difficult because it always made you think outside the box, daily, all the time. I always thought of math as a puzzle, and every time I went into the class, it was like solving a new puzzle every day, and it was great. I hope someday that I can be a teacher just like her that would help kids thrive in learning. My least favorite teacher was also in high school, and I know what you're thinking. Why is there a picture of China right here? There's actually quite a story behind this teacher. My sophomore year of high school, I had a chemistry teacher that honestly, you could tell they didn't like teaching. He put very minimal effort into grading. I think once we took a test, and when everyone didn't do well in the test, he just said to the class, "Oh, well, I'm gonna take the average and then we'll just give everyone that grade." To me, he seemed very lazy and careless. At the end of this year, I went on a foreign exchange program trip to China, and they needed teacher chaperones, and I bet you can guess who was one of the teachers that was going on the trip. Him and I sat on the plane together, we went in taxis around the city together in China, and we were always around each other. And for the first time, I got to know a teacher outside the classroom. One night when we were driving back from an event, I remember one thing that I'll never forget. He said to me, "I wish I never had to go back to teaching." In that moment, I knew that if I wanted to be a good teacher, that you have to be passionate about doing it. I also learned that even though he wasn't a good teacher, he was a really good person. I remember I was sick for a couple days in China, really sick, and he was helping me out so much, and he cared a lot about me, and I remember thinking how great of a person he was. So I actually think I learned the most from my least favorite teacher. It's the one thing that I would want to take with me through teaching in a kindergarten through 12 classroom. It's having a passion for what you want to teach. That's what makes the best teachers. So by the time I finished my experiences through all my education, I realized that my education and wanting to be an educator is more like an Olympic relay race. Life is track. The track holds many struggles, many successes, lots of experiences, and everything you learn from in and outside the classroom. There's an immense amount of passion for running around this track. Right now, I'm one of those guys down there waiting to get the baton passed off to me. And when I get it, it's my turn to teach. It's my turn to pass the baton to the next person. I know when it's my turn to teach, I'll have the passion, the experience, the wisdom to be the best teacher that I can be.